Hello and welcome to the Chatty Ramble podcast. I am your host or hostess, Caroline Mitchell. My guest today is all the way from Alberta in Canada, and it is the wonderful Sandra Pelley. We were having a little chat before we came on, and it's like, this is actually sounding really exciting. So, can we press record? I'm very excited to introduce you to another dragon person who also does inner child work, and inner child work combined with dragons. And I quickly read your bio before we came on air. Sandra, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to hand over to you. Thank you so much for joining me. Welcome to the Chatty Ramble podcast here in the UK. So tell me, should we carry on where we left off just now?
Well, first of all, holy cow, thank you so much for letting me be here, or holy dragon, I guess, not holy cow, right? I was just telling Caroline about this incredible experience I had. I've had a number of incredible experiences that really keep directing me back into her realm of existence. And one of the things that happened before I actually purchased a Dragon Path deck of cards of hers, the Dragon Path, was that I was out for a walk last year. Can't remember if it was spring or summer. I know it was around that time. And I saw a broken leaf on the ground, and I stopped and I took a picture of it. I took a picture of it because it looked to me like a dragon. So fast forward to purchasing the Dragon Path deck, and I open up the deck, and I always do this beautiful interview with the deck. So I didn't really get a chance to really kind of hone into them. I was just energetically clearing them for myself, connecting in with the dragon energy. And then I opened up the box and I looked at the back of the cards, and holy wow. Again, the back of the card is so similar to the leaf that I had found on the ground.
No. It just blows my mind that the dragons will use any which way to grab our attention and say, hey, I'm here, take notice. I love it. That is so cool. Sorry, right, I'll be quiet, carry on.
So my own journey has been really interesting. I will say, first of all, I'm a little starstruck because I'm sitting here with Caroline. Everybody who knows her knows the dragon energy. And oftentimes, as we're beginning our own pathways, we sit in judgment of ourselves and our own journey with dragons or with whatever guides, right? And so I have been staying in the energy with dragons probably since 2017, but I'm realizing now it came in a lot earlier than that.
Yeah.
So jump forward into 2021, I guess it was, where I actually introduced a medicine wheel into my program. And then dragon energy really started to come in a very powerful way. Yes, I work with inner child, but the inner child is the protector. It protects our adult version of ourselves. That adult version of ourselves often acts from that point of view of the child still. So if we are thinking to ourselves, oh, why am I acting that way? It is because our inner child is protecting us. So this has been my journey, is really helping my inner child to grow, expand, feel loved, feel supported. And in that, it has unleashed my inner dragon. So this inner dragon piece really came in when I brought in both sides, or both genders, I guess you could say, of my inner child. And I know this is kind of sounds like a long story, but it is actually pretty succinct. I was very much a tomboy growing up. I didn't realize how much a tomboy I was until I reclaimed my feminine side back in November of 2022. And at that moment, my way of talking changed. You wanted to throw something in there because you can feel this, can't you?
Do you know, I can relate completely. I spent my childhood, my feet were never on the floor. I was up trees, on horseback, on a bike, on roller skates. I was a complete tomboy. And it's just in the last couple of years, I've begun to actually connect back into that gentler, divine feminine aspect of self. It's just like I've got goosebumps. I've got all emotional. Got all the emotion I have.
Same here, because I can feel your energy, because it's such an amazing part when, first of all, we realize that we've been that disconnected,
Yeah.
and to welcome that piece back in with
Yeah.
such love and support, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still working on that whole aspect of that, bringing that gentler, more supportive aspect of me in to me. I've always done it with other people. So I discovered the other day. My husband said it actually, which blew my mind completely. But I've never done it to me, and I've only been doing that over the last, maybe the last year or two. Wow,
Love it. Love
I
it.
love it. So anyway, I shall be quiet. Carry on. Thank you.
No, I love the synchronicities, and
Mm.
the similarities are just very, very powerful. In this discovering that all that part of myself, my inner child felt a lot more confident. I felt a lot more confident, and the dragons really started to amp up. And I think it's not just because of myself. Dragon energy has amped up in a massive way in the last 2 years, and 2025, like we're amping up, amping up, amping up. And I say we because I feel like, um, in embracing the dragon energy, we are dragon energy. We really
Yeah.
have to step into that in a powerful way. And so that's why the inner dragon has come up so powerfully for myself. It is another part of ourself that we can really start to bring in this, I guess, this metaphysical part, this spiritual part, because as I was mentioning, the inner child was the protector. Our adult self has been living kind of in the limbo in between the inner child and the inner dragon. The inner dragon is the action taker. It's the one that's going to lead us into these places. As the inner child feels supported and protected by the adult and the inner dragon, the possibilities are incredible. So I've been doing this journey with my inner dragon now for probably about 6 to 8 months. So come to this past weekend. I know that this is an evergreen podcast, so I'm just going to kind of lay down some parameters to what happened. It was a period in 2024 where there was a big conjunction of planets and
Mm-hmm.
stars and moon, etc. It was a full moon weekend as well. So many things came into play. As well, add that to how I think the general population, especially us metaphysical and holistic people, are. We have been really kind of stepping into the energy of, okay, I need to rest or pause. Something's going on. I feel something, but I don't know what it is, right? And
Yeah.
so I left point A to head home. And on my way, about halfway there, my truck broke down. And I had to limp my truck back into this city. While I was there, I discovered that this wasn't a simple little thing. This was actually, my engine was blown in my truck. My truck is toast. Okay. So
Oh.
now I'm like, yeah, it was pretty incredible. So now I'm like 5 hours away from home. I'm stuck. I'm by myself. I got a truck full of stuff, and I have no idea what to do. Thank goodness I've got a very supportive husband. He and my dad were off to go to our granddaughter's birthday, and that was where I was headed, was to be there for that, and was unable to make it because of the truck. However, the divine provided me with this opportunity to sit in a hotel room for 2 nights. And so I'm like, okay, you know what? I could just fiddle away this time and watch TV and read and do whatever. Or I have been provided with this incredible opportunity. What needs to come through? What wants to come through? What questions do I ask? And immediately, Inner Dragon came up and said, let's do this. You know what your path is with Inner Dragon. Let's sit down and figure out what it is for humanity. Can you feel that?
Oh, and what's really interesting, that took place, what, 10 days after the eclipse?
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Oh,
12 days. Yeah. And I forgot about the eclipse was in there as well. Yeah.
you had a full
So
solar
all
eclipse,
of this
didn't
energy.
you? Yeah,
Yeah.
massive. All that energy, you could feel that energy building behind that, because there's that mass. My camera's moving. I'm sorry. There's
That's
this
okay.
mass solar eclipse, wasn't it? That went across like an arc across Central America, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I was down closer to I guess it would be southwest tip, going across to northeast, kind of
Yeah.
a pathway, an interesting
It
pathway.
finished in Ohio, didn't it? Sort of petered out. It's sort of Ohio was like the top of the states that got it, really, wasn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So what happened was is I had been away for 6 weeks, and I didn't realize I was going to be away for 6 weeks, but something told me before I left my house,
Yeah.
grab your cards. Now, when I say grab my cards, I'm unsure if most people are like me or not who are listening, but I have like 20 decks of cards plus, right? Obviously, I wasn't going to grab all of them. However, I did grab 6 decks. And the Dragon Path actually happened to be one of the decks that I grabbed.
Mhm.
What happened then was I sat down and I'm like, okay, what decks am I using? Am I only using one deck, or am I using multiple decks? And it came down to, yes, you're going to use 5 of these 6 decks. Love that energy of that, because first of all, 5 is all that transformation energy, change, right? Moving with the flow and not. And so I shuffled up the deck, and I have this beautiful interview system that my daughter had comically sent me around a deck probably 4 years ago, and I use it for everything. Like, it's just a magical, magical deck. And in essence, the Dragon Path cards asked to be used for 3 of the 7 questions.
Wow.
Yes. And 3 for me is so very, very powerful, because 3 is the me, myself, and I, the little you, the physical body, the higher self, the inner child, the human body, the inner dragon, mine, yours, ours, the Holy Trinity, past, present, and future. The list goes on with what number 3 means to me. And so the very first question that I asked of this deck with regards to the inner dragon was, what is inner dragon to humanity? And the very first card that came through was the Dragon Path, and it was the Illuminaire.
Ah, shining the light on the unseen.
Wow, hey?
Wow.
So I'm not going to tell you the details of everything. Suffice it to say that I have a YouTube channel, Sandra Pelley the Sandini. This is being edited currently. Ideally, it will be out this week. And out there's a 7-part series. I couldn't put it all into one. I really honored each question that Inner Dragon was asked, and I can't even tell you what was said, because it was like channeled information. As I turned the card over, I realized right away that I need to videotape this. I can't write this down. There's just too much information flowing through. So yeah, very, very powerful. So where I'm standing now in this inner dragon energy is so exciting.
I love it. And that inner dragon. See, I love the dragons give me such a around the head every now and again. That real dragon slap. For God's sake, you're being a bloody stupid woman. And I've had a couple of those recently. And one of them is about this inner dragon, the dragon self. I am dragon. It's like, oh, come on, get over your bloody self. You're being a dick. You're not a fucking dragon. Anyway, I've come to realize very recently that actually the inner dragon, and I don't know, maybe I'm picking this up on the wrong way, hence our conversation now. But it's actually about our fully embodied empowerment of who we are.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting to. Exactly.
Amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
It's because the dragons are about us completely embodying. This isn't in the head. This is nothing to do with brain, nothing to do with mind. This is embodiment of our dragon self, of the power that we were all innately born with, that we have as soul, spirit, human doings. That is the absolute that we can be if we choose to be.
Thank you. Thank you for putting it to words.
Oh, thank you. So I was just feeling into that, because sometimes you can't, can you?
No.
Sometimes that being able to put the words together is so difficult when you're trying to articulate dragon.
Yeah, very, very much so. And some of that goes back to the self-judgment that we carry on ourselves, that
Oh
we're not
yeah.
connecting in the way, like here I sit with Caroline Mitchell. Oh my gosh, like she's created these incredible cars, and I, like I said, like a girlfriend of mine, a beautiful Tina, like really would love for you to have a chat with her. She goes by Viviana now. This dragon name has been given to her. When she got introduced to a dragon, it was an inner dragon. It literally burst out of her chest and presented itself to her. And now, like in a very, very short span, she's already got 102 dragons who are
Oh my God.
yeah. So this is so when I have friends like this, and I'm sitting here with, oh, my little old inner dragon, like it's just this one dragon, you know. Although I do have an entourage of dragons, I know that for 100% certainty. It's just really easy to sit in judgment of oneself, and I think that's really what I want to bring forward. And I think you said it as well in what you just said, what inner dragon is. It's really recognizing who each of us are as individuals, like who I am. You know, I'm such a sovereign being. Yes, I'm part of a collective energy, and we'll go back to all that and tapped into all of that, past, present, and future. However, I have my own way of shining as I'm in this space.
Absolutely.
Boom.
It's about its autonomy and sovereignty. And they're the sort of things that the dragons have certainly taught me. It's, you don't, for God's sake, Caroline, don't follow the crowd. Just because somebody hasn't said it, hasn't done it all, or isn't saying it, doesn't mean that you're wrong. You know, and I think we're very, as human doings, we're very fearful of being judged and feeling that we've got it wrong. I know when I was creating the deck and starting to talk about dragons, I was bringing the deck in my very original deck into the world. I didn't sleep for weeks. I was so terrified of how they were going to be received and how I was going to be perceived. Wow, that was a massive, massive lesson on my own judgments about myself and what I perceived the world would say and do about my work. And oh God, I couldn't be an artist, you know. I'd never ever sleep because I'd be so terrified of what people would say about my artwork. You know, I didn't do the artwork on these, that was Terrace, who was incredible. But yeah, I could have been an artist because, well, maybe I could now, but I can't draw. But yeah, it is that judgment. We're so heavy. We're conditioned as a society to be judgmental and critical, which is so bloody destructive.
Just give me a second here. There's something that Inner Dragon wanted to
Oh,
hone in on with what you were saying and
sorry.
how my experience has been. Thank you. Inner Dragon is assisting the individual to really recognize that, first of all, just giving a backstory to myself, I'll show you what I mean here. And I'll finish the first of all, that we are creating new pathways. We're creating new journeys, period. We're creating new ways of thinking. We're creating new ways of so many different things. So here I am, the first woman in my, at least for sure in my mother line. I'm not unsure about my father line. I know there's some indigenous in my father line, and just where I know I've got peacemakers in my father's lineage because it goes back to Poundmaker and Poundmaker's sister, which is American history. But I'm the first one to do anything in this spiritual realm like I'm doing, period. I'm the first one that's doing anything with dragons. I'm the first one who is doing something so specifically with the inner dragon. And that doesn't mean, let me rephrase that. It means even more than this is I'm the first one in my lineage. It's also, I may be the very first one in the world who is
Yeah.
deep diving into inner dragon. And that's why I had this opportunity. Like, I love that my truck broke down and provided me with this opportunity to have this incredible powwow with the inner dragon energy and what it meant for humanity. Because where would humanity be? Like, I get tongue tied because I get so excited about where we can go with this, right? Yeah.
It's, I do know, just picking up on the thing with the truck. So you had 2 days in the hotel room in a strange city. And now you could have completely thrown your toys out and gone, oh, woe me, oh, woe is me, the world's a bitch. I'm missing my granddaughter's birthday and I can't see my children and oh, my life's a bloody mess. You could have gone into a complete meltdown of everything that's wrong, couldn't you?
I could have.
But actually you went,
hey, wait a minute.
yeah, I can't change this. So actually, what can I do instead? And I love that it's like you recognized the opportunity to go, this is a gift.
Yeah.
What can
yeah. It was a gift even on a very personal plane as well. I mean, yes, the inner dragon and the metaphysical and holistic end of things. However, I had COVID for the weeks leading up to Christmas. I tested negative on Christmas Eve. We basically canceled Christmas because of it, so we didn't get to see our kids. January I spent recouping. February I spent mountain biking in USA with my husband. March came in and I got an emergency call from a family member and had to drop everything and go. And that's what I was alluding to, where I was looking at the cards and grabbing card decks to go. And I ended up spending another 6 weeks away from home, dealing with being a full-time caregiver for 2 people, emptying out their house, all these things. And so when that happened, that truck actually allowed me to have an emotional release as well, which was massively needed.
Yeah, because you've been carrying that 6 weeks of space holding whatever you're doing on a very personal level with family.
Yeah,
you were holding it together and them together.
Yeah.
And then you were going, then a part of your your trip home and then go straight into a granddaughter's birthday party. You wouldn't have had time to process.
No, not at all.
Wow, that gives me goosebumps.
Yeah.
God, the dragons just know,
so,
don't they?
They do. I'm so grateful and so thankful for the lessons, and that I have. It all comes back to, there's things in our life that put us into situations where we have a choice. And in that period, in that moment, we can choose to ask for help or choose to just keep attempting to do it our own selves. I will tell you with 100% certainty, I will, in fact, 100% guarantee it, that if you make the choice to ask for help, you have increased your speed of your own journey 1,000-fold plus.
Yeah.
It's just really remarkable. Yeah.
We are herd creatures. We are pack creatures. We're not solo flyers. We are meant to be in groups, in communities, whether that's a spirit community or a human community. We are meant to be in communities and work and bounce together. And so by asking for help, whether it's physical help in the physical field or spiritual help in the spiritual realm, that's what it's for, isn't it? That's what we have, our guides, our helpers, our dragons, and everything else. And it's not being weak to ask, is it? No, it's actually about helping yourself to move forward and through whatever you're going through, whatever's coming up for you.
Yeah.
Wow. So, pre-dragon, what did you do pre-dragon? So were you a therapist already? What's your
okay. I will say no. However, what I will say is, as a child in my childhood neighborhood, I was the person that would always, rescue the pet or help the injured child, other like my friends, etc. So to some degree, I guess I was. I was a follower for a long time, and then one day decided I needed to be a leader instead of a follower, and then brought that forward to my own kids to be leaders instead of followers. Avid mountain biker since about 2009, I guess. So I do a lot of my spiritual thinking on bike or on these trips. We have gone from having kind of I would say out of the norm jobs. Like I was a conductor on the Canadian National Railroad on freight trains. That's what I did for a job. I went from that into a janitor, but a janitor out in the oil fields, cleaning offices and things. So out in the wilderness, seeing grizzly bears, seeing lynx, seeing cougars, seeing owls. Like I was totally gifted all of these incredible opportunities in my mind, right? Um, and then I injured myself in 2000 mountain biking. I actually, no, I didn't do that one mountain biking. That was the end one. I literally had stepped off a stepladder and dislocated my pelvis on both sides in 2000. And I was terrified about how my seniorhood was going to look because of how injured I was. And I'll be honest, it took a number of years to deal with that psychologically as well as physically. And that's a whole long story on itself. Having said that, that um, cycle began, meaning that it ended up being 16, 17 years of continuous injuries of some sort until I literally broke my pelvis in 2016, I guess it was. So I went from dislocating my pelvis to breaking my pelvis. All
Ow.
mountain biking, not all the accidents in between were mountain biking. And at that point, it was like, you know what? You got to make a change in your life. Why is this happening? And as soon as I asked, why is this happening? It literally came through that you have something bigger that you need to step into. Get with the program, girl.
Wow.
Yeah. And so began my spiritual journey. I authored the book, Spiritual How To. And that is literally because when I went online to look for anything to do with a spiritual journey, I couldn't find a darn thing. So I
Wow.
decided to actually write my journey. This is actually one of the owls I saw out. I'm showing the cover if this is audio. This is one of the owls I saw. On one day, we saw 3 different owls. It was just so incredible.
Wow.
So I wrote the book, A Spiritual How To. It's available on Amazon. And this is a very simplified way to start your own spiritual path, start your own spiritual journey with very simple things. And it really is bringing support in for that inner child. So,
Amazing.
yeah, that's kind of like the nutshell version, I guess, of this.
Wow. So what we'll do is we'll make sure we've got a link to Amazon down below for people that so if they want to go and have a look at it and purchase it, they can. Because there's so much out there, isn't there? And sometimes you just want a beginner's guide, which is what you want. You want the what are the baby steps I need to take to start my path. You know, I'm not up here already. I'm not, you know, up in the highfalutin stuff. What are the basics I need to know? How do I know? And that just sounds. So what do you cover in your how-to?
Basically, there's 2 mantras that I used. I understood too about expectations. Expectations was a huge one. My life changed when I learned how to break the habit of expectations and create a new habit. Massive changes in my life. Yeah, and thoughts. How are you thinking about yourself, changing those thoughts? And I think this is all things that you've heard, but this is the like literally the step-by-step version of it instead of going, well, how do I do that? Right? Yeah. I also teach that in my signature program, the Discover You, the Incredible You. This a spiritual how-to is a beautiful beginner's guide, though.
Yeah. So you do group work or is it one-to-ones? How does it work with you?
Both. I love working one-on-one. However, I also love working in groups because when you get a group together, the insights that come from other people and their journeys has so magical. It's just very, very impactful. So basically, the first program, the signature program, Discover You, the Incredible You, is all about fostering that inner child, loving yourself, discovering what expectations, limiting beliefs you have, and starting to unleash that inner dragon. And then from there, we move into live your inner dragon, that next step of that. And that's a whole different ball game. That's where you are actually going, okay, what are my talents? What is my passion? What is my why? How do I move forward in my life in a way that really empowers me? And for most of us, empowers others, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's that embracing that inner dragon. You're actually starting to drop all the bullshit stories that you tell yourself, aren't you?
Yes, very much so.
Because you don't so this is again saying the dragons are, I mean, we've been on very similar journeys but with different wording, I think.
Yes.
I love the inner dragon thing. I think I'm going to have to adopt that, I think, because it's fabulous. Because it's exactly what it is. Yeah. It is that inner self, isn't it? That inner dragon.
It is. Yeah.
But it is we fall into this trap, particularly societal or family trap, of ways of being, don't we? Ways of thinking. So the stories we tell ourselves, or stories we've heard, and that's what keeps us playing small. It's what keeps us dumbed down, isn't it? And until we start to bust the chains on those and recognize them for what they are, the BS stories that actually aren't true, that's when we can then begin to embrace, you know, the inner dragon. I love that idea. That's just, and it's so easy to understand, isn't it?
It is. It is.
So how do people find you to work with you?
SandraPelley.com. Very, very straightforward, very simple. Yeah.
How wonderful. I could talk to you forever. I love these incredible stories.
Yeah.
And you think in sort of relative terms, you've been on your journey for a short period of time.
Relatively, for sure.
Yeah, and relatively. And this is what I find really interesting is back in the day, back in the day, people would sit in circle for years waiting to get a message from spirit.
Yeah.
And that's how it was. But today, with our modern science and understanding of how the brain works and psychology and everything else that we have, our spiritual learning and understanding is like fast tracked.
Big time.
And but I think there is that element of what you were saying earlier, that we are on this speeding up of spiritual evolution, aren't we? Things are getting faster. We are understanding a much greater rate, and science is starting to prove really what mystics, mediums, and healers have known for eons. And science is starting to prove that too. I just love the way that it's all just getting, I don't know, it's all being much more accepted in mainstream.
Well, and I think too, once the individual realizes that it's within their power, and I don't want to use the word control, but within their power, it just changes everything. One of the mantras I use is to be open with no expectations, no limitations, and I am creating the outcome. I don't say it that way when I do the mantra. I actually take a breath between each of those. May I do that right here, right now with you?
Yeah, please do. Absolutely. Share it.
So taking a breath. I am open. With no expectations. No limitations. I am creating the outcome. And so it is.
I love that.
Do you feel the pieces of that?
Yes. And that's the key to any growth. It's to feel it. But you've got to have the pause.
Yes.
You've got to get out of your head. And because that mantra you were just saying is actually about embodying that. It's embodiment. Right. Yeah. Because you can't think your way out of a problem.
No.
You just may create a bigger knot.
Yeah.
but it's about embodiment, and it's all about the body, it's all about the heart, it's all about feeling, because your body will never lie to you, your heart will never lie to you.
That's right. Yeah.
You know,
and when you can step into the mantra that I just shared with you, it will change your life. It will change your life, because if any part of that feels like ooh, then that's the part you're going to be paying attention to, right?
Yeah. Would you like to do that again? Because I can hear people screaming at me now, going, do it again, I missed it, do it again.
For sure. So taking a breath. I am open. With no expectations. No limitations. I am creating the outcome. And so it is.
That is incredibly powerful, isn't it?
It changed my life. It changed my life.
I can see why. And you're working and talking about, you're completely in the present. You're owning the I am. How wonderful. And I think that's a perfect point to close on, because people can go away and think about that and sit with that energy. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast, Sandra. Thank you to those who are listening and watching, and we will see you in the next Chatty Ramble podcast. Until then, fly safe.